me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, nice. I want to go over the DAO removals.
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, so for this week we have Seritron, Rosely, Globo, Teller, Levi, Cook, and Goon Machine. Seritron, like he's been very inactive. Like last seen over a month on both Discourse and Discord. Rosely lost his gorilla role. Globo is currently has only verified role. Same with Dethelor and Levi Cook and Goon Machine have not been participating since their addition on both Discord and Discourse in April. Since the addition in March.
So that's over 2 months of no participation for Levi and Goon.
Yeah.
I think Globo, Seroton, and Deathalore, if they're just have the verified role and no grape role, I think that speaks for itself. Rusley,
Seritron, I don't think he has only verified role, but he hasn't been seen for over a month on both Discord and Discourse.
I see.
Then Rosely lost his gorilla role.
Has Rusley been active?
Also, when I checked, I think it's also close to a month now. Let me see. His last message in Discord is May 19th.
Yeah, he used to be like a kind of a grape star player, so I'm not sure if anyone has any more insight on this, but other than that, I see no issues with the removals of all of these listed. Most of them, I'm not seen in a good while.
Yeah, I'll agree. And the moves that we're gonna be making soon with the DAO, some of the updates we're gonna discuss in this call. Everybody will see how this DAO role is gonna be gaining more and more importance. So it's important to keep the most active people in here. So Abed is taking the right step, being more aggressive with the removals, and we will continue to be.
Okay. Any other comments before we move on? Are we all in agreement for these removals?
Yeah, regarding the removals and what constitutes a DAO member, I think moving forward and the significance of power and the power that the DAO members will be having with the new changes that are coming, I think we should start getting more strict into which members we keep, add, and of course remove. Because, for instance, by now we have been a bit generous, let's say, in leaving DAO members that have almost never participated in a conversation for months, but on the other hand, they're still reading the posts. So only reading and logging in, I don't know, once in the last 60 days or something, in my opinion, shouldn't be enough moving forward. And we need to keep it in mind and keep finding new frameworks and requirements for the DAO members in terms of activity. I mean, not for their role in the group. Yeah, voting yes, or maybe even commenting, but only reading stuff and signing in to get your latest update on Discourse. Yeah, that won't cut it anymore.
Okay. Any metrics that there is to report? I know you had some. I don't know if we need to take time on the membership, but you can totally drop the membership metrics if you want to.
Yeah, I'll just post a link. Nothing big since yesterday. Excuse me, since last week. So yeah, nothing really noteworthy there. But we'll nevertheless paste the link.
Okay. Thank you. Paz, do you want to give a brief update? You did a really good job before on the Chapter X and what we got going on there.
Oh, did I? Sure, I can do that. Let me think. Maybe I can remember correctly. Yeah, we basically met with them on, when was it? Friday? I don't know.
Yes,
Time
Friday.
flies by. Yeah. And also got like a second brief introduction into their metaverse. Yeah, obviously Dean's List evaluated part of it beforehand, but it wasn't something that we did officially with Grape. So we had a separate call going on, and it was really informative because they showed a lot of what they are doing right now, and we asked them a lot of questions. Specifically, we talked about what would be interesting, or we could say like required by us for using the metaverse in the first place, because the topic was not only what functions do we need, but also what would benefit, or whether there is an additional value for members to use the metaverse instead of having like those talks we're having right now, basically using discourse and Discord. So we talked about that. Yeah, the guys were open for ideas, and we should come up with what we need, and basically have like a small task force with them. But they also said that basically functionality isn't their focus at the moment. They have some ideas they started implementing, like REMS voting, but there obviously is also a lot more to it than just being able to vote on REMS. So they're at the moment they are working on onboarding different communities and basically preparing something for them visually.
Yeah.
And what was it? The treehouse for
SMB. Yeah.
Yeah, it was SMB. So they showed that, and they asked us whether we would be able to provide them like with some ideas of ours on how we would envision a meeting place for Grape. Basically, something that is Grape themed. So this could be obviously something for our content sub-DAO to think about. And we also need to figure out what on the functionality side we want to focus on, because we obviously don't want to have like a metaverse that is fun to use like one or two times, and then everyone gets annoyed about not being able to do stuff in the metaverse. So then we would rely on the web browser and basically Discord again. So yeah, we talked about that. So we basically need to come up with the main things that are important for us and can give them feedback. And yeah, the second part would be a visual concept of how we envision a meeting place.
Yeah, so like he mentioned, what we had requested was realms and SPL governance integration, the ability to show an agenda, the way CryptoPause does before every meeting. He posts the agenda, but we thought in the metaverse it might be nice just to kind of see the agenda as we're talking and kind of just cross out as soon as we've moved on to like the next agenda topic. More so than anything was the functionality and the convenience, because it's a large hill to jump to cross over, because we are all so accustomed to what we use right now, just our Discord and being able to pull up web pages. But it might be something fun to try, especially at times when we need to execute votes within our calls. Other things that were requested were statistics, user statistics, like be able to track more efficiently who's showing up to these meetings, how often you are in these meetings, could provide valuable information, as well as Grape bounties, and as mentioned before, the ability to pull roles from Grape. Yeah, so just from the management perspective, it might be useful, but it could be something fun to try. I think that was it.
Yeah, there are obviously a lot of things to think about and interesting parts to explore. And Bugsy was really open while showing us everything. But on the other hand, we obviously took a lot of time, and we were constantly thinking about ways on how to measure participation and stuff. So they have like statistics that we could use, but it's obviously not their focus. So yeah, and basically Dean summed it up quite well. And so he said at the end that we also don't want to like let them create something that we wouldn't use later on. So it would be sad like if we have ideas and give them our suggestions, they build a metaverse and we use it like 2 times, and then we see that it won't work for us, and we would return to the way we're doing things right now. So yeah, there's a lot of work involved for Chapter X, and they're really accommodating. So we need to figure out of what we really want and what we really need first. So
Thank you. Are there any questions on this topic? I don't think there is much. It's just something, just a quick update on something, little project we're trying to work on. Okay, I think we can proceed on to our first agenda topic, which is Athens DAO recap. Guess I'd give the floor either to Dim or Taki, if they, or anyone else who was there for that matter. They can provide some insight. What was
I wasn't, so I would prefer if you stop spreading false information. Thank you.
Oh, I'm gonna spread it even harder, dude. Even harder.
This is unbelievable. I'm joking.
Sheesh, came out hard there, dude. But before we actually start that, I guess pause. What did you want to accomplish with this? I know is it just like some general feedback that we want?
yeah, because I saw so much happening, and I figured
Yeah.
people are back a week and had time to digest what they really did at Athens DAO, and I figured maybe there is something someone wants to talk about and wants to address, and so I felt that it would be appropriate to have an agenda item, but if nobody really wants to talk about Athens DAO, it's also fine. I mean,
well,
the pictures were nice.
Whales laughing. Yeah, the pictures were nice. You can watch. Yeah, Whales coming, Iberica. was basically a huge success. Everything went smoothly, surprisingly smoothly for us organizing, to be honest. We were pinching ourselves every day about everything going as planned. Everything from the crowd control and how everybody moved from talks to outside chit chat and networking was again smoothly. Everybody was going in for the talks, the panels, and then getting out for the drinks, the coffee, the breakfast, and all that. It was a very beautiful atmosphere. The size of the crowd was ideal, as we got feedback as well from Solana. Around 100 people, 120 people, I think, came and visited. Lots of fruitful discussions. You can all watch the content and the panels online as they keep being edited and uploaded by Jaris if you don't want to watch the 5-hour streams at the moment. And I think it's safe to say that from the feedback, the talks, the panels, and the feeling that we got is that you should all, and we should all be very, very proud as Grape members, as part of this lovely community, because we're still leading the way and we are second to none almost into governance, DAOs, and how we are basically the playground for devs to build tools around our needs, and whenever we need help on finding a solution on this. And that was pretty much the overall feeling about the Grape community. So yeah, a big applause for the whole community, at least from my part. And you should all be very proud of being part here. We're doing something special.
Yeah,
Definitely.
guys, big success, big success. It was the first time we've done something like that, so we have no idea. We learned a lot of things. Events are a huge investment hazard. We got lucky to have amazing people in the team that actually went above and beyond. So yeah, it was good. It worked out. But the main takeaway from this event is that Grape is a really OG project, highly respected among the core Solana insiders, let's put it like that, from Mango markets to realms to squads to any DAO tool making, any real DAO out there, any team that has been building on those programs really respects Grape, and we saw that in the event. What we did in the event, other than place ourselves in the middle of everything, like always, which is really important, because now anything that has to do with DAO and Solana, Grape is the go-to community project tools, etc. Just because Solana saw the respect we got from the rest of the builders. Everybody showed up, everybody was really excited, and everybody gave really good feedback. We managed to actually map the ecosystem and identify a couple of holes, identify a couple of overlaps, and also we are coordinating in actually getting Athens DAO to become one of the official bounty, let's say, for the space, bounty generators, grants generators, let's put it like that, is going to push for in order to cover those holes that we identified. And we also got really close to the other projects that are building, which places us in a very good spot to become the power users of anything DAO related out there, meaning that anybody who's building a new tool is going to refer to the Grape community to test it, to embrace it, to give opinions, to give feedback. So I from that respect, big success. Even the demo day was a very big success. We had to adhere to a couple of bullet points that Solana gave us in order to become a Hacker House X, which was the demo day, something that was a little bit scary, because a 4-day Hacker House, how many things can people actually build in order to present? But we were pleasantly surprised to see 8 different teams wanted to present stuff, which made it pretty awesome. And it was the general feeling was very relaxed, and it was not really presentations, but open discussions where there were no elementary topics, there were no introductory topics. Everybody that was in the crowd was a DAO OG. They've gotten all their hands dirty, and they knew the problems and the what's going on in the DAO space, in the Solana DAO space. So we could actually talk about things that are very advanced, and you wouldn't be able to do it in a normal hacker house where people need introduction of why Solana and why Rust and why DAO. Like all these things, we had them solved in our mind, so we could just elaborate further. So yeah,
we did have one major complaint though. There was too much DAO content, and the chairs were not very comfortable. That's what
we got
one complaint said.
Some constructive criticism that is going to elevate the event next year. So expect this event to become the main event around Solana DAOs, and this is going to be with the blessing of the rest of the projects and Mama Solana itself, hopefully. But yeah, super awesome. Was really tiring. Superstars are of this whole organization is obviously Takisol and Jaris. Went above and beyond. I don't know like how I'd be doing this without them. So yeah, we're fortunate to have a really good team, and next year, guys, don't fucking miss it. Honestly, even the merch is the best merch you'll ever get in a hacker house. So make sure next year you get to Greece.
I think you're being too modest without including yourself, Wales. There was a lot of work being put in this event, guys. Even, I don't know if it seemed or not, but there was a lot of work. 3 months of constant grinding. And I'm really happy that we made it happen and it turned out the way it has.
Yeah, and like let's come clean. It hopefully, like when everything settles, it will not have costed Grape a lot of money. Like, it's a huge victory because we managed to deliver a quality event, which means sponsors were happy to sponsor to jump in. So, and I really want to stress out the risk of this move, because in order to get sponsors, you need to have an event. In order to have an event, you need to pay money. So it's a chicken and egg problem. How do you get sponsors without having an event? And how do you have an event without having sponsors? So in between, there is a lot of, risk and leap of faith and YOLO.
Can you provide some insight on what were some examples of shortcomings? Was that on the space in general, or some shortcomings on Grape?
For example, a huge shortcoming was the fact that we spent money to have dual display stations for the hacker house, and we could not in the end find an adapter with 2 HDMI outs, which means all the double displays were mirrored instead of extended, so waste of space. Another one was nobody used the actual keyboard and mouse. Everybody was just plugging in their computers to the screen and then using their screen, so we didn't need that either. Shortcoming was horrible quality of coffee. I made a huge fuss about that because that was terrible. Another shortcoming was the website went online too late. Another shortcoming was Solana kind of took her time to jump in or to jump on board, and this created a huge mess in the end when we had to change the whole.
We basically had to rebrand the whole event in 6 days before launch and make it open to the public.
And new merch and change the sign up procedure and add new sponsors. I mean, it was a huge mess, but so lots of shortcomings, but lots of accurate calls in terms of capacity, in terms of thematology, in terms of invite. So lots of good calls, and yeah, lots of things to improve on the next one. But are minor things in the end of the day. All the major things
Yeah.
were actually spot on. Like now I know we need a Red Bull fridge on every floor, for example.
Makes sense, yeah. But really great to hear that it was that well received, and obviously
Yeah,
thanks
the
to
anonymous,
all your work.
At the end showed us that it was successful, because anonymous polls could actually reveal a lot of truths, and the fact that we got a very positive, really positive reviews and a very positive average score. I'm excited. I'm excited about what this did to Grape's branding. I'm ecstatic, to be honest.
Was the positive reviews like based on a survey taken at the end, or was it just word of mouth?
Survey
Both.
that was not conducted by Grape or by Athens DAO. This was an email sent by Solana Foundation to anybody that actually signed up through their invite link, and their invite link was the only sign up form that was accepted on the event, which means most people actually filled up this questionnaire, and we've received such positive reviews that I think Solana Foundation is reconsidering some of the structured events. And let's not forget, this was the first Hacker House X that Solana Foundation sponsored. So we did the first one, and we actually brute forced our, let's say, style, our signature, our aroma, the grape aroma.
Yeah, what do you think? What was your I guess if any one of y'all who were there, what was your all's biggest takeaway? Like what did you learn more about either Grape or in Solana from being there, or like innovation that we're striving for or trying to push?
Anybody wants to take that from the people that were there? So I don't answer that, but I can.
For me, it was very eye-opening, the fact that we kept hearing in the panels serious Solana builders and serious projects that came on and mentioned the Grape Community and the Grape DAO for being on the bleeding edge of everything that has to do with DAOs, not only in Solana, but I would argue and beyond. So living in our own bubble, let's say, every day here, when we come in for our talks or our discussions and everything, one could be forgiven for thinking now that, okay, we're the shit and we're the best and stuff like that. But hearing that we are leading the way in several things regarding DAOs and Solana was very, very fulfilling, to be honest. That was my personal key takeaway.
Taki, let me say something there. This is a very good point that you're saying. Not only other communities see what Grape is doing, but also Solana themselves are mimicking a lot of the processes we've had and have been using. So in general, it's our responsibility when we do stuff, because everybody in this ecosystem is trying to see what us as a guinea pig is doing as a DAO, and they're mimicking what we're doing with the bounties, grants, and the processes. It's really important to take into consideration that we're actually seen by Solana themselves. So we have to kind of think twice when we're going to be posting stuff, because it's not anymore just a joke, because this could actually be game changing in the DAO ecosystem. And that's how Solana views us. So that's quite impressive, and it's quite something that has been accomplished by the endeavors and the trial and error that we've done throughout the process. But I think we have a very good process in general that has helped us grow as a community and as a DAO.
It's a good reminder, definitely.
Another thing that sorry,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was really impressed on the seriousness Solana is showing to DAOs, to DAO tooling, and to governance. They're putting serious money. They really want to actually push a lot of grants to create open source tools to make DAOs more, let's say, appealing. The Solana DAOs, make them more inclusive, increase awareness, all these things. So it seems to me that Solana for this year is going to push a lot the social fi aspect, and we're going to see quite a lot of investment in DAO tooling itself. This is something I did not expect to see from something that was new, that came from Athens DAO itself. So very bullish on what's going to happen in the years 2022 and 2023.
I would like to also add one of the takeaways from going to one of these events is the importance of actually meeting people in real life, and how you've already interacted with a lot of these people you respect or you admire, before, and then you meet them in real life, and how you can make these connections even deeper, and how important it is for projects that are building to be able to connect at a more personal level and understand. We're all people, behind these little avatars. Like we got to meet a lot of people that are building in the DAO ecosystem. They understand what we're doing at Grape. They understand that we are experimenting. They also understand that nobody has all the right answers to a lot of these problems, especially rewarding. But the event was a massive success, like the way I see it. And we shouldn't always just look at how many people went to an event, but the quality of the people that were there. Like it was, I was very happy that we got to get a lot of great minds together and share insights at a much deeper level. And I look forward to a next event again in Greece, but definitely in other countries where the focus is specific. Like the hacker houses, they are more relaxed. There's not a very specific focus. It's more like, it seems like it's more NFT oriented because Metaplex is a bigger sponsor. But it's the focus, I think, is what helped a lot at Athens DAO. Like that's one of the takeaways I would take from the event.
This is all
And
really. Oh, sorry, go
also,
ahead.
this is something that we'll have to discuss again as a DAO, because we need to represent Grape in many of those hacker houses, and we need to be represented also by the DAO. Like it doesn't need to be Billy, Dean, myself, Taki Sol, and all these people. Like there is if there is an event next to you, close to you, I don't know, in the same continent, and you want to represent Grape, please tell us. I'm pretty sure the DAO is going to. I'm pretty sure. Now I'm talking. This is my opinion only, but the way I see things and the way I gauge the importance of those events, I think we should represent. And if someone is going to be in Paris, in New York, in Belgrade, in Barcelona, or whatever, yeah, let's represent, and let's make sure we are in the middle of everything. I'll come to the DAO with a proposal at some point to find someone to help me to represent Grape in a couple of hiker houses that are going to be happening in the next couple of months. But that's a topic that I will have to first have a specific proposal about.
Oh, Thanks all y'all for like mentioning for those comments and those messages. It's really awesome to hear. And sometimes we do get kind of stuck in this kind of great bubble, but especially hearing the stories and how it was received, it was just really awesome.
And we got to hang out with Metaverse Explorer, with Barn Dog, you know, it's awesome. It was such good vibes.
Yeah, can you remind me again who won the race?
Bardock by a lot, man. When
Oh.
I made the bet with Bardock, he was a crane operator with a beer belly, drinking many beers a day. Now he's an ultra marathon runner that runs 20 kilometers a day. Dude, I smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. This is not fair competition. I had no chance, but he's a super trooper, man. Guy is unstoppable. But I did wear proudly the T-shirt that he made me, which is him naked sitting in a chair. And yeah, I even visited my parents wearing this T-shirt.
That's pretty funny. I know someone posted pictures of Barn Dog's calves earlier in the grape chat, but that was a while ago from all the running he's been doing.
My calves are bigger, but he has a marathon, ultra marathon runner body now. He's like super thin and, you know. Hey, look at this. Yes, look at this awesome picture with Metaverse and that T-shirt. Wow, man, this is such a great photo. Although I have a giant nose in that photo, but yeah, let's do it.
All right. I guess that covers up the recap. What a wonderful recap. Are there any last minute comments or suggestions? Yeah, I guess suggestions for Athens DAO recap? Anything else that needs to be mentioned? Okay, I think we'll wait until Dean comes before we explore the Grape DAO DAO-ness topic, but I think we can proceed to the Grape Validator topic. Dim, do you want to give a recap on that?
Sure. For anybody that wasn't here in the initial discussion, we had Hank on stage, who is a new DAO member. He has built an amazing project called Solidex, and we were trying to see how we could incubate Solidex, rebrand it, make this project ours, and Hanko coming in to support this effort from within and utilize our community forces to kind of kick this off. And also bringing his experience from content creation, which would be massively valuable for us. So we've had several talks with Hanko, and this is going to be very linked to Dean's announcement that's going to be coming up in a bit. But oh yeah, Hanko wants to come on stage also. Okay, perfect.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
Hey.
So yeah, so I think we're super close to a proposal from Hanko and the DAO board, where we will be outlining exactly how we would be working together, what we would be offering Hanko as a potential compensation package, and how Hanko would begin working with us, with a potential new sub DAO as a validator, where he will be able to manage a part of the profits moving forward when that comes, and how he would be supporting us on the content side. So I mean, I'm extremely happy. Hanko is a true OG in the Solana ecosystem. So I'm super happy we have him with us, and we're close to pushing something forward. I don't know if Hanko, you want to say a few words here, or anything maybe that I've missed from our conversation?
I think you covered, most of it. We've just for everybody who hasn't been completely following, we've been in talks. Me, Dimitri, Dean. We've all just been kind of throwing around a lot of ideas on how to build something that's going to be mutually beneficial, not only for the Grape DAO and SolidX and my team, but just for Solana as an ecosystem. I think that we're pretty confident that our ethos is all kind of in the same realm. Like we're all very bullish on the long-term future of Solana. We're in it for the tech type of thing, and we're all kind of sharing the same mentality that this is going to be a long-term thing. So I don't want to step on Dean's toes if he's going to make an announcement and whatnot, but I do have a little like slideshow presentation talking about SolidX and just kind of the core functions. I'd be happy to just show that off if you guys wanted to see it.
Yeah, definitely. You can share that here, and we can revisit that later.
Okay.
Once we push the proposal, we can give some more explanations on.
Yeah. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, you can either do that. Yeah, well, up to you actually.
It's up to you guys. I don't know what the
But
format
so, yeah,
here
let's.
is.
I don't think you can share your screen on the Grape
Ah, you
stage.
Yeah,
can't.
it's the
You're right.
stage.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Maybe you can share it. Maybe you can share it under live chat, and we can revisit it later on,
Okay.
or when we make the proposal.
Yeah, sounds good. See if I can grab the link here. I just dropped the link in the live chat. It is kind of like a bulleted list. It's a presentation, so it's meant to be kind of have me extending on some points here, but it just shows off some just general ideas and my experience and kind of why I'm looking at Solana as a just kind of a topic as far as like the using it for a content website. It's just, I mean, it really checks all the boxes. It's kind of the perfect um, subject matter for like a large scale profitable content website. And I've been building content websites full time for a long time. This is what I do for a living, and I've built a lot of sites in a lot of different niches. Um, Everything from health supplements, women's fashion, boxing, equipment reviews. I built a lot of credit repair. I've built in a lot of different niches. Um, when I found Solana as a just as a hobbyist and getting into crypto, looking at the search results, I immediately looked at this as like a huge opportunity. Because right now there's thousands of projects on Solana. A lot of them don't even have good brand presence. Like if you Google, a brand on Solana, it's not going to be like a widely found thing. So the general concept, right, is build kind of an index or directory of Solana projects, but then add on some rich content on top of the actual project. So when people are searching for like, for example, like somebody searches for like step-in review, or like how to mint step-in shoes, like that's going to be a pretty actionable keyword that people are searching for. And the way I look at it is like everybody who's searching for any type of Solana keyword, that's a potential to get somebody into the ecosystem. Anybody who's searching for any Solana project, like that's somebody who's interested in crypto. And that's really how you want to look at like content sites, at scale, because maybe one click isn't a big deal, but if you have, 20, 30, 50,000 people a month clicking on search results in Google for Solana related keywords, you got to look at like that as a big traffic group that you can use to complete some kind of action. And in this case, staking with the validator is the ultimate goal. So the idea is, you get people on the site clicking from content that they see online. They get sucked in. There's a little call to action, talking about staking Solana and whatnot, and then you just kind of move that visitor on to staking with the validator. So if you look at it like 50,000 opportunities a month to get somebody to stake with you, it scales over time very well. And in addition to that, there's endless amounts of referral and affiliate programs for exchanges and cold storage wallets, trading bots. I mean, the crypto industry is pretty massive as far as like an affiliate marketing perspective. So there's just a lot of potential. So the ultimate goal is to kind of take my expertise as a content marketer and an SEO guy, build this really amazing content site, and then use the rewards from the validator to continue the growth of the website and to also pay out the content creators. That's kind of just a rough summary. So I could talk about it all day, but if you guys have questions, I'm obviously more than happy to talk about it.
Thank you, Hanko. I think it's good to allow some time for people to go through this.
I have
Obviously,
I have two questions.
Yeah,
What
me.
would the compensation model look like for rewarding contributors? Like, how would that
So
work?
we kind of linked up at an interesting time because from day one, I've been bootstrapping everything myself because as of right now, the validator is not profitable. So one of the benefits to partnering early is getting the DAO's input on how that kind of reward structure will work. We're kind of at a good time because like right now I eat all the costs personally, but as far as like a revenue sharing model, there's a lot of ways to look at it. You could do it on kind of like an impactfulness scale, like in regards to the whole site. Kind of explain that in an easy way. So you have like different authors that are creating the content. You can analyze how many views are coming organically to a certain author's content and do a percentage that way. They say like, oh, well, this writer is responsible for 10% of the organic search, so they're going to get 10% of the revenue. There's a lot of different ways that you could do it. I'm pretty confident we can do it in like an accurate and fair way. But as of right now, the validator is not profitable yet. It'll be profitable right around 50,000 Solana staked, and we're currently at around 7.
Okay, that's the one question, and the other question is, if you would like to share your experience in the recent outage and how you were in the Discord and trying to coordinate with the rest of the validators and how that was.
Oh yeah, it was a fucking nightmare. The validator community in Solana is special to say the least.
Yeah, I
It's
noticed the
challenging.
comment Trent made when you posted your log output. Yeah, that wasn't very
I mean,
supportive.
here's the thing, man, is like ETH maxis give Solana so much shit, right? They say Solana is not decentralized. Solana, it's in, like the times like that when like, the network is down and, your people are trying to help each other out and you just have, what you end up seeing is kind of a lot of people just trying to be every man for themselves type of thing. And people get like, people are kind of like, Solana is like home of like the mega nerds, right? So they're kind of like, some people look down on everybody else like I'm better than you type of thing. So it's definitely been a challenge. Obviously, running a validator is not nearly as easy as like running an Ethereum miner. As far as like a technical standpoint, it hasn't been too much to handle. There's definitely been some stuff that it's like, wow, this is some pretty advanced, stuff we're figuring out. But there hasn't been a single time where I haven't been able to work with the community to get stuff fixed. As far as like when Solana has been halted, it's like code red for me. Like I know about it within minutes, and then I rush to a computer to start, working with everybody else to get the network online. One of the things that I want to accomplish is to make validating just a better process for your average person. I think that one of the ways that Solana can improve its overall ecosystem is to really encourage like DAOs and other kind of decentralized organizations to host their own validator and do it as more of a community effort thing. The Solana Validator server program has been a really good resource for that. But unfortunately, like Solana is still very new, and Solana is not the easiest blockchain to work with. So there's a lot of challenges with running a validator. One of the goals that I have is to make running a validator more accessible and more mainstream thing. I'd love to see more NFT communities and more DAOs like run a validator on the Solana network because really that's the skin in the game. It's what makes Solana go. It's what makes the network, move. And I think when you kind of go all in and you should put your cards on the table and you're showing people like, hey, I'm eating this cost every single month because like I believe in the network and I believe that long term, this is going to be a good move. I think it says a lot about like the community that you're a part of. And I know that like DGod's got a validator up, Flag Monks. There's been like a few NFT projects lately that have been starting them up, and I think that's a trend that's going to continue to increase. The fact is that running a validator can be extremely profitable. Like Everstake makes something to the tune of $30,000 a day from their staking rewards just on their Solana validator, and they run nodes on something like 25 different blockchains. So it's kind of in the beginning, you have to like lose a little bit, but long term, once you're over that hump, it can be a very prosperous investment moving forward, especially if you think Solana is going to go to a higher price, which I personally do. So yeah, very challenging. I'm hoping that in the future, by creating Solidex and continuing to build that, we can get more like user-friendly guides out there to like help people run a validator. The docs right now, I will say, are pretty unsatisfactory. Like every single developer that I've brought on to help with the validator has been like, this isn't even in the docs. Like it's never been addressed. Hopefully in the future, by doing this, we can get more people to be involved with the network and make the whole validating process a little easier. Because right now it's not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your insights. It's
really
important to
know.
Thank
you so much for sorry.
No, it's very important to get feedback from people that are actually putting their own funds in, with skin in the game, and it's costing you, and you're still you still have that validator running, and you believe in Solana long term. So that means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that. It's definitely a long-term play, man, but it's a high conviction play for me. Like I applied for the Solana server program in December of last year. Took me a while to, there was a wait list for like a separate kind of high performance server. I was one of the first to get access to that. But yeah, like it's a big cost every month. I pay right around $1,000 a month just for the server rental. And that's just for the bare metal. That's not counting the Solana voting fees that you pay every day just to run the validator. So I appreciate the kind words, man. And anybody who's listening to this, I'll live in my car before I shut the validator down. Like it's I've dedicated at least like a good year in the future where it's I have the funds to keep it going and pay for it. And if I have to drain my whole bag doing it as a social experiment, I'll do it. And but I will not let the validator go down. I think it's my baby.
So, what do you think validators that don't have enough soul? Like, what do you think is a good strategy to get them to get more soul staked? Like the performance, like how good your validator is, and your reputation as a validator runner. Like, what do you think people should look at?
So, I think that if you look at all the validators on Solana, you have like a few that are just like heavily optimized and just performing very well. And there's like just a handful that are performing better than like 90% of them. When you look at the general like 90% of validators, the difference on returns is rather small. Like you're usually talking about a few tenths of a percentage point. And so what I'm trying to say is like, if you can convince somebody to stake and say like, hey, staking Solana is objectively a good idea for your investment perspectives. Most people aren't going to be splitting hairs over, a tenth of a percentage point. I think the key is just number one, just explaining people what the difference is between staking on your own custodial wallet, where you actually have access to your Solana, and how that works with the network, versus doing something like depositing it into a staking pool, or lending your Solana out for like 8% instead of 5. I think when people understand the mechanics behind staking and they understand the benefits, which are like number one, like you have custody of your funds. It never leaves your wallet. Your wallet is the only person that has authority over activating or deactivating that stake. Like that's a big thing. And I think especially like institutional investors, people who are looking at Solana in the time scale of like a year or 5 years, I mean, it's a pretty attractive way to allocate your funds. So I think kind of shifting the mentality a little bit, and then once people understand like how crucial it is, how crucial staking is with a validator, and like what that actually means in the ecosystem, I think there's a little bit of a passion that you can ignite in people, because it very much is like a democratic, like you choose who is, like your money is what's choosing who's running the network and who you're trusting to go online when the network goes down and to go fix the validators. Like all of that is decided by you and your Solana. So I think like getting that narrative in front of enough people, I think organically it'll just happen over time. But I think kind of that mentality shift of it being more like a community thing. Like you're going to invest the money anyways. You're a believer in Solana. You're going to be holding Solana long term. Be silly really to not stake Solana. And then when people understand like the best practice is like stake with multiple validators, like that's good for decentralization. That's good for everybody. It's good for the network. I think if that narrative kind of gets pushed over time, it's just going to kind of naturally happen. Right now we're in kind of a weird time in the market where we had like a meteoric rise over the last year or so, and then obviously we're in a bit of a bear market now. But I think just kind of pushing that agenda and that narrative, and getting people to really understand. I mean, I can't tell you like how many people I talk to that are pretty seasoned investors, but they like never staked Solana. Like they don't know that you can stake directly from your wallet. They don't know that like when you're staking from your wallet that you own like you still have authority over those funds. I mean, it's so much different than like putting it on Coinbase or Nexo. Like it's not even comparable. And if you're bullish on like DeFi and Web3 and stuff, I think that's just, it's going to be like an underlying part of the framework. Like people have to understand like this is what makes the network run. So it's super important. It's going to be a harder sell to people who are just flipping NFTs all day and they don't really care too much about the tech. But I think, over time, the people who are staying with Solana and the people who are like in it for the tech and like believe in this is like a long-term investment type of thing, I think that they're just going to increase in time. The more time that we give it and the more time we spend kind of spreading this narrative. It is challenging though. Like I've explored different ways. Obviously, Billy, you know this. One of the things that I am doing, or that we are doing, is doing the gated Discord access. So I think that basically right now, if you stake over one Solana with SolidX Validator, you'll get a special role in the Discord. I think that's in itself, like doing an incentivization. I don't know how to say it. Incentivizing people to stake in some way is a great way to encourage staking. Doing things like NFT drops to stakers or merch giveaways to stakers or whitelist giveaways or whatever it is that people like assign value to. And then it's just a matter of like, hey, I'm already staking. I might as well make roughly the same amount of money doing it with this other validator, and I can split my funds between a few validators and get different benefits from each of them. I think that's a good way forward as well. And Solana is still relatively new, so like I expect the technology will continue to get better and more incentives will be created. As people like you and me and some of the other builders in the space are attacking this issue and trying to get people incentivizing people to stake. I think that incentives and kind of community created incentives are going to be big as well.
Well, thank you so much, for sharing all that. I know we have a lot of more questions on validators, so maybe we should do like a separate talk on that another day.
Yeah.
But I think we should go on the agenda, unless somebody else has another question.
Yeah, this is one I wasn't sure was if it was covered or maybe I missed it, but was the Solana, had you approached Solana Foundation for the funds? And was
Yeah,
it because the geographically where the validator is located
yeah.
were you
So
denied
you're
or?
right. Yeah, you're right on the money. It's not that I was denied. It's just if you're in the U.S., you have to KYC to become part of the Solana validator program. They'll rent you the server, but if you are US based, they will not put up the stake to get you profitable. Um, I think that like I have, if
Is
they
it
do
if
want to
you are
officially
in?
do it.
Is it if you are in the U.S. or the servers in the U.S.?
So I'm not sure what which one it is actually. I mean, my server is in the US as well. But I think it comes down to you in your residency. Because I could have, launched a server in like Australia or like a different country. Um, But I don't, from what I remember from my talks with the server foundation, I was ineligible anyways, just because of KYC in the US.
Okay. Yeah, that answered my question. Thanks.
Yep, thanks, man.
Any other questions before we proceed? All right. We'll go ahead and move on. Let me see what the next agenda topic is. I still see that the NFT Realms giveaway, unless I'm on an old agenda, is still on here. Taki, did you want to give a brief update on this?
Yeah, we're going to gather the voters for June's proposals, and we're going to raffle 10 NFTs from the ones that we got as recorded of the NFT Council. This is going to happen tomorrow, most likely, and we're going to post the winners.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Is Dean in the audience yet? I see. He is. Dean, are you ready to come up and discuss our second topic, the DAOness?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
I just also did that
Hey.
squats thing you asked for.
awesome. Thank you.
I'm curious, who's the missing vote there?
You should have been the one who was able to execute. There's no miss.
Correct. Yeah, no, so like there's 5 DAO board members and I was the 5th vote, so I'm wondering which of the 5 DAO board members didn't
Oh,
vote.
Archimedes is not in attendance today.
Are you guys keeping anywhere like track of which people are voting and executing?
No, we're not. I think it's something we can just easily see whenever we click on the squads that have been created, who's
Yeah, we're
executing.
signing them off below the post usually. So in Discord.
If we could just start aggregating that, I think it would just be interesting information. Like I would like to know if I'm voting, for a DAO board member and that they've rarely ever, voted on the squad. I think that's information I'd like to know. Not, I guess not the tone I wanted to start with, but
That should be doable.
it was just something that like, I was thinking about because the idea was that all of the sub-DAO leaders should be also there. And, I was under the impression that like, my vote would be kind of more like a, hey, emergency so-and-so hasn't been available. And look, I already know the answer to my question. I just want you guys to know that answer. I think it's important that we all know these situations. So yeah, on the article, I think it's a big deal. This is the first time, to my knowledge, that there's a real DAO anywhere in crypto. The best example I have is I hold a monkey, I hold an SMB, I can confidently tell you that there is no path that will ever open up, at least ever. There is no path today where I can run their Discord, where I can say, here's a vote, I want to run the Discord. I believe that I would be better to be the owner of the SMB Monkey DAO Discord. And I think that that goes for Mango, that goes for UXD, that goes for everybody. And, you know, Discord might be a small thing compared to, you know, what our treasury does and our program updates. But I'm very proud of the fact that now there's nothing within our DAO that anybody doesn't have a path to being included in. So, you know, I tried to put together some ideas, some concepts around DAO-ness. And then underneath, I listed a lot of proposals, 8, that we would need to go through to then, you know, be at a place that we're ultimately decentralized. But I also want to point out that just having this conversation alone puts us at the place where we're already completely decentralized. You know, there was some concern from one member. There's only one member that pointed out that, hey, we've already discussed how burning the council token's a bad idea. You know, I totally agree. Right now, we're definitely not ready for it. But you know, it is important that we acknowledge it, right? And that there's a conversation around, as a DAO, we are saying we want to keep the council token. Like there's just, it's good for us to go through these processes. So even though these proposals are here, I'm not endorsing or not endorsing any of them. You know, like, you know, I was able to come to a way of looking at DAOs that helped me highlight these distinctly as what I think are the remaining parts of discussion that we haven't had before, right? We haven't ever discussed, should we use the default instance of Realms or should we deploy our own? We've never discussed that, right? So now, by virtue of me putting it on paper, it's at least in everybody's mind. We can start having education around it. I'll stop there and open it up to any questions. By the way, I'm also still making changes to it. So if somebody opens the article now, they'll see there's a new intro. That intro is written by Pavlson, I believe. Yes, you have a different icon in our in our server. So yeah, Pavlson, phenomenal intro. So, you know, I just straight up copy pasted it. I will, you know, add you to the citations at the bottom. If you want more, you know, specific shout out for that, I can do it. You know, I'm a very big fan of attribution, but I'm adding you to the list of names at the bottom. And then I still have to go through, Dynite gave me some feedback. I need to go through the Avid Learner feedback, and I need to go through the Cavicon feedback. So, you know, again, there's so many people that helped across Solana. You know, this is something that Sebastian, Iman helped on, Stepan helped on, Sam, MacD. And, you know, I'm hopeful that, you know, I discussed this with Billy earlier today. I'm hopeful that this becomes a foundation for an exploration into things like reputation, things like, you know, different checkpoints for a DAO, a more robust calculation for measuring DAO-ness. Yeah, so I'll stop there. So yeah, here, you know, one of the things Ryan Red says, I like the idea of us having our own Realms instance. I think you're saying that from a guttural response without like fully thinking about it.
Can I jump in on that very quick?
Yeah, please do.
So two things. One, let's just explain what each thing means, because there's a big gap in, you know, what we all understand. Having our own realm instance, again, somebody needs to control that realm's instance, and again, you would need a council token or some way to do the upgrades. it would be very hard to do it through the community every single time. So we need to set a path forward that, yes, we will have that choice as a DAO, but we need to also specify what are the benefits of continuing to use the Solana governance controlled realm for Grape versus using quote unquote our own. And if that is really decentralized, like we need to define in what way it's decentralized. If we control the program, that means that we also have the power to put some other code inside to do exceptions, etc. Like everybody isn't capable in understanding exactly what the program does and the changes that are being made. So if a proposal is made to do an upgrade and there's a malicious upgrade, we are, if we control the program, basically we are opening the door to allow that attack vector. I'm not sure if we would have the incentive to do that, but there would be that opportunity. Just knowing that's the risk of going that route. And on the other hand, having the actual program run by the Solana, we are giving more trust on the community run program for Realm specifically. Now on the council token, during Athens DAO, one of the things that we discussed with Sebastian was today the council token has like a lot of superpowers. Like you could create proposals, you could pass votes with the council tokens as long as you have the majority. But moving forward, we first need to have the ability to have the veto power from the council token. And then the next step will be, once we have that ability, is to remove all those other superpowers and only allow the council token to have just the power to veto a proposal. So that could be like a first step before we completely get rid of the council token. It's just understanding what can we do today and what are the next steps. And these things will help the DAO decide on what's the right thing to do. I hope I didn't confuse anyone.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic explanation for it. And I'd like to add, we're going to inevitably have to vote a council then that is heading up our instance of realms. If you think about it though, right now we have a council. Sure, they're not Grape members, but I would argue that this is the best possible council we could ever ask for. And that's Sebastian, that's Iman, that's Max, that's Adrian, Dan Madden, Jose, and myself. I'm one of those 7 board members. So the entire realms instance, the default instance, is controlled by these 7 people. I think we could not ask for a better council. I mean, Sebastian is the father of Solana DAOs, right? And then I'm also on it too. I think we would be in a much better place keeping that dynamic. Who knows? Maybe all of those guys become Grape members, and then we it becomes equal to having our own default instance. But intuitively you would think, hey, we need to have our own. But as time's passed and I've thought about it more, plus once they created the board and I was added to it, I felt much more comfortable saying, you know what, this is the way to go.
Right, so I guess there's still going to be more progress done on that article before we proceed with it. Looks like there's a lot of good feedback so far.
Yeah, I like the idea of even talking about it and having like, yeah, it's like having a recipe for or something to check against, right? So if we have those, and that's what I also very much like about the article, we can use those points in order to check ourselves on a regular basis. So did we do progress in specific areas? And if not, is there a good reason to wait or not? So I think we should, even if those proposal, even if we don't find an answer for every proposal right now or in a month, we still should continue to answer those questions on a regular basis, and maybe there are even more questions to answer. So we shouldn't lose focus there. But I have the feeling that you will remind us, Dean, if we do so.
Yeah, and we're in a place where we're also being looked to for direction. If it wasn't obvious before, I think with Athens DAO and with other things you guys see happening, we're privileged to be seen as the trailblazer and giving that direction. It's an honor, it's a big responsibility, and we've earned it, right? So there's a lot of different ways to gauge success. It was funny when we first started out. It was a little jokingly, but I was honest. I was like, I want us to be competing with Cope, and I think that if you look at where we are in the ecosystem and who we talk to and who's referring our stuff and retweeting our stuff and discussing what we're doing at Grape, I think we've done a very good job of growing into our shoes over the last year. I see this question from God's Love DAO. I'm more curious, what's next for you after this article? Like I know exactly what I'll be working on, what I'm enthusiastic about, what I want to spend my time on. My question is, what's next for you after this article? I thought it was understood why I'm asking that, but it's okay. Does anybody else understand why I said what's next for you? Like, I'm not picking you out. I'm just saying it because you asked the question. But, CryptoPause, like, do you understand why I asked that like that?
Yeah, sure. Or I think at least I can imagine why you're asking that, because just talking about it obviously doesn't solve anything. So it's like a first step, but I see it more, and this is for me a bit what's lacking in the past month. I can also see it like some sort of mission statement if we have a look at DAOiness and how to like measure it, that we can use to specifically define what we want to achieve and check like, are we doing it? So yeah, that's like something, at least that's for me is important. Any specifics? I can't say right now, but yeah, for me it's important to know what I'm working towards. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you know, my concern comes from there's just so many things to work on, and like I know I have a laser focus on what I will work on, and the fact that I can achieve it, you know, without having to, you know, if I need to tap somebody, I'll say, hey, come and work with me. I'm not waiting for a bounty. I don't need that. I know what needs to be done. I'm just gonna go work on it. And that's why, like, sometimes when we have this question, what's next? Well, you know, we're a whole community. I like Red and Red. He said, hey, we need a new website. Okay, that's an example of what could be next. It would be great if God's Love DAO and Red and Red worked on that together. But I'm not just saying it has to be specifically those two people and it doesn't have to be specifically that thing. It's just a great example of an idea of, you know, somebody saying, hey, I think my two grapes, we need to work on the website. I've shared with you guys in the article what I want to work on next, which is the implementation of an elected reputation-based voting weight. I can explain what that means if it's confusing, but for me, that is the next important thing in our quest to be a meritocratic DAO. If we set that up, we remove a lot of risk and we start to go into, why are we going straight to action without discussion? Like, so this, I don't know if you're intentionally trying to not understand what I'm saying. Like 2 seconds ago, I was asking you to be part of the discussion. You're saying, why me? And now you're saying, why are we going straight to action? When I'm talking about the thing I'm going to work on. I can work on whatever I want, bro. You go work on whatever you want. It's not a we, it's me. I'm going to work on this thing. It's that simple. I'm not asking for a bounty for it. Like, does anybody think they can stop somebody else from working on something? That would be fucking ridiculous, right? I'm choosing to work on this. I'm not getting anything for it. I want to understand why you think I can't act. That is really perplexing, God's Love DAO. You should say, why is Dean going straight to action without discussion? Well, it's in my fucking article too. You don't even have an article. Fucking A, man. What a shitty way to start the discussion. But anyway, I'll shut up now.
Anyway, Dean, I think you made your point, and it's important that everybody can focus on what they do best. But Red and Love did bring up the fact that we do need a new website, so I would like him to share what he thinks we should do next.
Are you talking only about the website?
The main website, I guess you're referring to.
Yes. So when I was looking for our website, and I know we are Grape Network, so I remembered it was .network, and we are the Grape protocol. So I typed in grape.network, and it didn't get me to the right website. So that's where this all started from. And well, then I updated the proposal. To take a step back in my mind for a moment. Yeah, so my first idea was, why don't we get in touch with the people who own Grape.network? Because it's not used to display any meaningful content right now. But
I want to just interrupt you just for a second.
Yeah.
That we did try to buy that domain back in September.
Okay.
We failed. So if anybody in the community could also try to negotiate to get that domain, and then we bring a proposal on the DAO to actually complete that process, anybody is open to to do that. It doesn't need, you don't need permission to do that. But we did try, and we weren't successful.
Okay. That's good info here. Yeah, but then someone else mentioned in the proposal post that there's also Grape.io, and the
Yeah,
company that
Grape.io, they're going bankrupt. I would assume that domain is also part of their assets, which they're going to liquidate. I would assume. I don't know, but I don't think they would just hand over a domain without a
yeah,
very expensive fee.
I don't know how expensive, but I googled Grape, and the first hit was the Wikipedia page for Grape, and the second hit was Grape.io. So
Yeah, it's a good domain.
I would actually prefer Grape.io compared to Grape.network. And I updated the proposal as such that it is now focusing on Grape.io. Yeah. And that's the whole idea with the website proposal, that we kind of streamline this.
Well, we are probably looking at a 6-figure cost. I'm just guessing, because that's how much they usually go for when they already have a very good reputation. Like they're not cheap. So yeah, that's something that the DAO will need to decide if it's
Yeah, I mean,
worth going that path.
if we get a number, what number it is still remains to be seen. But even if it is a 6-figure number, and in theory we could afford it when we can put it to a vote.
I think the only way we would actually succeed in getting that specific domain would be if that open source project could become a sub-DAO of Grape, and we continue to reward those developers in Grape, and that domain could continue to live, but through Grape. I think that would be a way we could
I like that idea.
possibly not pay that much money up front.
The only thing I know about these Grape.io guys is that they build a messenger and that they are from Austria. But
No, that
yeah.
for sure we need to start some kind of discussion and see if there's any route we could potentially take that makes sense. But if we are not able to get that specific domain, what other options which would we be interested in looking into? We also have the domain grapedao.org. I think Archimedes has that domain in his position, so that could be transferred over to the DAO when there's a process to do that.
Yeah. Maybe, I mean, the proposal thread I did yesterday, so maybe we could just kind of make categories, how much we like a domain and if it's available. Like category A would be Grape.io and Grape.network, and then make a category B and a category C.
So the one discussion item is the domain, if it's worth getting another domain, and the other point you made is the actual website, right? Not only the domain.
The website was the UI UX is mainly added by Jarvis. I agree that this could use a rework, but I didn't want to make this proposal about two things and overcomplicate it. So I'm just my proposal is only about the domain. But concerning UI UX, it's a whole other topic. I mean, alone the user journey we are offering from the Grape dashboard to Grape Drive to Grape.art, that alone can be improved and is a big discussion item, right?
Yeah, there's also Grape XYZ, like, or some variation of that that we can also try to push for. But since we got like 30 minutes left on this talk, perhaps we can continue with any other topics we need to discuss before we come back to this, if we have time. But it seems like we have our next steps, at least on this topic. And it was good information that
Yeah.
we had tried going for Grape Network, but I guess was it the price that y'all couldn't agree on, or just y'all were unable to contact this person?
No, they had a price, but they never followed through. So that
I
was the
see.
issue we had. Yeah, so we didn't have a good experience with getting that domain.
I see.
And that price was, I think, under 10,000 at the time.
So I don't know what the next item would be on the agenda, but this whole discussion around website and user journey, this could be tied into the discussion post I made about Grape product strategy on how to break down our roadmap 2.0 into more specific steps that could be also maybe give them a timeline and points of contacts, people with responsibility to make this a reality. And also the product strategy for me also encompasses a vision, some idea how these tools work together and how we can make them have a synergy.
Yeah, I'm not sure if many people had a chance to read that proposal that you had posted.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and before we dive into that, let's go ahead and talk about very quickly the GAN token. I know Paz had a couple of questions regarding this this topic.
Yeah. It's actually something that's pretty close to my heart, at least. I'm curious on where we stand with that. Maybe Billy, you can say something about it, because obviously we need devs, or devs would have been needed to change something with Grape Access. So my last information is that
What do we need to change is the question that DAO
No,
needs
no.
to answer.
yeah, the question is, did we change something again, or do we continue to change something with Grape Access? Because I'm under the impression that now Grape Access without the GAN token works, but the role removal doesn't. Are
All
there?
right. So the question is, what changed with the GAN token? Is that the question?
Yes, and whether there is a plan to change even more, because we obviously delayed the removal process for a week, and we said that there would be following up steps so that people actually get a GAN token.
Let me share a little bit of insight on that. So on the communication side, we have over 1,000 communities. I mean, it's over 1,500 roles. We have over 1,000 communities that have been using Grape and are still using Grape that we need to reach out to, that we haven't gotten feedback on actually buying the GAN token. And the people that we have communicated with, most of them did get the GAN token, but moving forward, we are slowly, continuously communicating with partners that, communities that are using Grape, that moving forward, if they want to use Grape, they need to hold the Grape Access Network. So they immediately buy that token. That's without a question. Role removals do not work if you do not hold this token on any community. So you need to hold this token for that to work. And new communities that want to use Grape also need to hold the token. So there are communities that have been using Grape since October who are on a legacy version of Grape. They're not going to be upgraded. So if they have any issues and they reach out, they need to upgrade to a new instance, and that requires that they hold Grape. So that's just an example of how eventually they're going to need to hold the token. It's not something that we could just enforce with an on-off switch.
Yeah, that's actually some valuable information that they're running, like basically the legacy version of Grape Access, and they can continue to do so. And if they want to like use Grape regularly, they need the GAN token, right? Did I understand it correctly?
That's the one point. And if our DAO does make a proposal for any new features for Grape, now all those features are only going to be available to users that are holding the GAN token.
I see. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. What I didn't know was whether there are any plans or next steps in order to remove functionality even more for people that are using like the legacy version of Grape.
So the problem is the communication, that you need to first let people know. I mean, we have tweeted, we have tried to communicate through our Discord, but just shutting things down without giving people heads up is not the way to go.
No, obviously not.
And these are people that have been supporting Grape, because they're not as responsive on DMs or whatever. That doesn't mean that they, it's not easy. Anybody, you've tried to communicate, it's not easy. You've seen how
I know.
being ghosted is a thing. It's not like, I mean, it happens to people that reach out to us. Like if somebody sends a DM to me now and I don't see it within 1 or 2 hours, that DM is going to be all the way, on 3 pages down scrolling.
No,
So
no problem.
It's an issue.
Actually, what you described or what you said regarding the legacy version really does make sense. For me, it's important that we like have a communication strategy and everybody is aware of what we want to communicate. So like for me, it totally makes sense that you can still use Grape, the legacy version of Grape, as it is, and if it works for you, that's totally fine. We're fine with that, but you won't get any upgrades, any updates to what Grape is capable of. And obviously, the onboarding process also includes the GAN token. So for me, it was important to speak about where we are standing and what we are actually doing and what steps have been taken and whether we want to do anything else. But if we don't, I'm totally fine with that, to be honest, because from a communication standpoint, it makes sense. You can use the legacy version of Grape. It's fine. If it's enough for you, perfect. If there are any issues, if you want to have support, if you want to have any upgrades, get a GAN token.
Yep, and any new functionalities will only work with the GAN token. I think that's also clear.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Have we noticed, for example, from these legacy communities, any of them trying to still verify? What message do they get? And is there any way to differentiate Grape legacy versus what we now have?
Well, around October, this is like a very specific niche case, like it's 70 or so communities. We had specific communities on a separate instance of Grape that a lot of those are still in that instance. They, it works, but it won't have any. It doesn't have role removals. It's not going to get any of the newer functionalities. And the purpose of the token is not only to use Grape, but to actually contribute on GitHub. Our code has been open source from the beginning. That's how all the other tools came out. There was no ledger verification, before Grape. Like a lot of these functionalities that other communities have or have today is because of Grape. The code was open source and it let them build, and that's great. But at Grape, we have a completely different like target audience. It's not only NFT projects, it's token-based communities, it's NFTs, it's communities that are staking NFTs, it's participating in governance, which there's no other verification method that you could verify who is actually participating in governance in your community. And with Solidex, we also have the validator verification, which I don't think any other verification tool does. So we have focused on what's going to matter more long-term than short-term at Grape. Like it's not as important to get like the whitelist meta that we did not jump into, even though we do support at Grape to do verified wallet verifications, chronological verifications, etc. It's something very risky to be involved as Grape because these projects could rug, and we don't want to have any direct relationship with anything that potentially could rug. So that is not something we gave any focus on as Grape.
Okay. Any other comments on the GAN token? Any other questions before we move on? We have 15 minutes left.
Yeah, Billy, for awareness, would it make sense for the GAN community to request a grant of Grape or something from our DAO to then have a role or maybe a bounty for other members of the community to go out and help spread the awareness about GAN?
Yeah, so currently the number of verified communities in the Grape Access Network Discord are only 7 out of 61, which is very low. Like they're using the token as a utility, but not to actually have a DAO yet. It's very early for that to become a DAO. It's very early, but it's going to take some time. We just recently the funds from the royalties are now they're on Realms. Now we could do a proposal. This is how things are going to start to move forward. But we need to, I think, number one, we need to create more awareness on why does Grape use the emoji? Like everybody says that the emoji sucks, that the emoji is bad. We have no educational material on why Grape insists on using the emoji and why it's instant versus other solutions that are supposedly quick and they take 2 hours and eventually they're going to take 8 hours or days and won't scale. And why Grape is taking this approach? I mean, we don't have any educational material on proof of humanity and how bots could override, these other easier quote unquote solutions. Like in a Discord, if the first step to verify in a Discord is that you have to click on an emoji and that emoji checks that you have a wallet, you've already gotten rid of the bots, because you've proven you're a human, you're still a human, and you verified your wallet. Well, if you go on any Discord like community, you need to keep on verifying your captcha, or you need to click on an emoji to click that you're human. With Grape, you just need to do it once. Like, I think that's a major difference.
Yeah, educational material really is a great case for bounties, right?
And how many bots are on these communities? I mean, if people just look at the numbers, of course, yeah, we have these verified members, but they could be basically the same people with, in these communities. Like with Grape, it's a little bit easier to actually justify that they actually clicked on something, so we know they're unique. At least it could be the same person, but they had to actually go through the process of creating a separate Discord and clicking on that emoji. It's a big difference. And we are technically capable of doing automatic role assignments when you join a server, but getting rid of that emoji click is not really such a big deal if that's the first step you do. So that's an education issue of how they set up their Discords. Like when Monkey DAO had Grape Access as their main verification, that required that you click on that step first. That was a very good example of how you should set up your Discord.
Yeah, you mentioned the participation in the Discord, but not many communities are verified in the Discord with a GAN token. And
yes,
that relates to a question I had posed in the pre-call, which was, now we have the GAN sub-DAO, right? And if we from the main DAO, if we now think that there could be an improvement, a new feature, something along these lines in the GAN tooling, how do we go about that? Do we just post on Discourse as we would do for the main Grape DAO, or do we need a GAN token? That's something that's not clear to me.
so the reason why you're holding the GAN token is, first of all, the utility of being able to continue to access the service, and if you're contributing, that you are deciding on the future of how it's going to be built. I think your question is if Grape needs to hold the GAN token to pass a proposal, and the answer is yes.
Okay, but so a Grape community member can post on Discourse for improvements and changes to the GAN
No, a Grape
tooling?
community member that is holding the GAN token could make a proposal.
Yeah, that was my question, because if a community member itself needs a known GAN token, or if Grape's GAN token then
I
counts for the
think
Grape community member.
the point here is that this tool needs to be governed by the people that are using it. They understand what doesn't work or what needs to be improved. Somebody just randomly like posting, "Hey, I would think Grape should do this or that." The actual users, they're the best people to give us direction.
Yeah, look, I do think though that just like we've made we make proposals in Grape for things that eventually will have their own token as well. Like if somebody wants to put in the effort to articulate a bounty, I don't think that we're gonna ignore, like I don't know. It's a great question, because philosophically the idea is that DAO is its own DAO, but at the same time, if our DAO wants to put in resources or
Now
work with
he's holding the required amount to do a proposal. So we could do a proposal, but obviously the holders of GAN are going to vote on if we should do it or not.
But let's say, Billy, that Grape as a DAO puts together a bounty. At that point, it's Grape paying for it, and GAN. I mean, anybody,
The
even
correct process is though that the sub DAO requests from the main DAO. The main DAO cannot create a bounty on its own. It needs to be from a sub DAO, I think.
but just like to play devil's advocate on this, let's say we wanted, for whatever weird reason, Grape DAO wanted to see Mango make an improvement, and we put together a bounty to pay people to do some improvement to Mango. Like,
You need to hold Mango.
well, like the correct process would be we have to hold Mango to have Mango make the change. But if we want to spend money to have a developer work on an open source component of Mango, that's our right as a DAO.
Yeah, that is a right of the DAO on how to allocate the funds. But the point is that these sub DAOs should be able to be self-governed, and they
Yeah,
should be able to
that's the
request
point. Yeah,
for. Yeah, that's the
yeah,
point.
totally agreed there.
It's not
100% aligned.
ideal. It's not ideal. Like if we initially have to make bounties as the main DAO, that's probably not the ideal way. But if it's going to help get things done, I'm completely for it. Because if you can't force DAOs to be created. They need to have the right people that are going to be pushing proposals and actions. So you cannot force any sub DAO to just work. We already have the videographer sub DAO, which also needs to be utilized versus creating, let's say, a bounty and anybody gets in the community. If that goes through that route, it makes sense that our own Grape economy could be self-sustainable, that we have our main token, we have this Grape back tokens, and each DAO could be requesting services from each other. Like the Grape Access Network could ask for feedback from Dean's List. And then Dean's List could ask for a video from the videographers. And each sub DAO has its own like microeconomy. Like that's the goal. It's going to take us a while to get all the gears running, but that's how everything's going to be working.
Yep. Thank you for going through that. It's a lot more clear to me, and no, I agree that ultimately there is complete flexibility, but logically, each sub DAO, each DAO should kind of be focusing on its own, lane. Um, you know, I think everybody would agree that there's plenty of things for us to work on at Grape before having to, focus over to GAN, which, it's its own thing now. Um, I would be enthusiastic, about a discussion around either the website, as somebody pointed out before, or the NFT. Um, there's a lot of cool stuff that we don't need to start going into another place, which already has its own group and people taking care of it. Um, Especially when there's multiple members here that are in GAN and are involved in GAN. It's usually the people who are not involved in GAN bringing GAN up as a topic. And I don't want anybody to feel like they can't ask questions about anything. Ask any question you want. Just let's also be respectful of the fact that there are people who are doing this full time, working on it, and there's stuff that we are not doing in Grape. I think that's a better use of our time to discuss those things that specifically, at Grape we need to handle, like membership, for example. I would think revamping membership is a great discussion piece. Yeah, you know, there's yeah, the NFT project we discussed it a bit today. I'm really excited about the bears coming out. That's gonna be huge. Soul bears.
I have a question, for my own understanding. Once I have linked my wallet to Grape, to the Grape dashboard, and I go into any other um, Discord community that is also utilizing Grape verification, do I need to do it again?
No,
And
you
is it
don't.
possible? Okay, so it's
You just
automatically it will
verify.
assign me my roles.
You
What's
need
the
to click
question?
the
If you have to
emoji.
click on the emoji.
Sorry?
You need to click on the emoji to give you the role, and that's instant. The moment you click on the emoji, it checks every single wallet that you have.
I see, and that is done for security purposes because I know I've used other verification on Cardano where if they're using the same verification bot and I join
So
the
let me just pause you just for one moment. So Collabland, which has done verification before Grape,
Mhm,
does that. You don't need
mhm.
to click on anything. You just verify once. But you know what happened when they reached 10 million wallets? Took them 30 days to remove roles, and things don't scale. So the
I
fact that you have to click means that you don't have to constantly be checking everybody's holdings all the time, but only when it's needed. And when it's needed is when you actually need to access something. So you
I see.
click and you get the role. The way the discords are structured is what's not grape friendly. Like they don't change their structure to be more um, like they use Wick, they use all these bots which they don't really need, where they only need Grape for human verification because if you have verified your wallet and you click on the emoji, you are a human being. I think that point is where we are losing, and people are like, "Oh, but it's a bad experience because I have to click on something." We could give the role the moment you join the server. We could do that, and we could, if that improves the experience, we could do that. But it's from like from a bot perspective, it's not as good. Um, like the Solarians, for example, when we explained this specific difference, they understood that for a DAO, it's important that you know it's a human and not a bot. It's very important to know the difference. But
Yeah.
all communities don't really care about that. They just want to see number go up, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that
and
makes perfect sense.
Grape does have over 400,000 wallets. There's no other. I don't think there is any other verification solution on Solana that's even close to that. And that's very far from the 10 million that Collabland has. So, from a scalability perspective, you have to understand that the moment a verification tool that has, let's say, 100,000 wallets today goes to a million, it's not only 10 times slower. It's not only, it gets exponentially, like much, much slower. Like when Grape went from 180,000 to 260,000 in December, we added Fractal and MeanFi. They did their airdrop. Those wallets that we added a big strain in like the whole role removal process and made the experience much worse. So you have to compare like what Grape does and why we do it the way we do it to any other solution.
Thank you for explaining that. It makes a
And
lot
it's
more sense.
and again, it's open source. You could run your own instance of Grape, and you could be automatically assigning the roles and for your community, and that would scale because you're only doing that for your own community, and you have like the flexibility of doing like as many RPC calls as you want for like 10,000 wallets. You know that would scale. So long term, we don't see Grape as being a verification uh, tool, but a verification network. So there's multiple Grape access network participants that you trust, that they use the same software. It's privacy preserving, and you know how it works. You just click on an emoji, or it could even automatically assign the role. But being a centralized single provider to do that won't scale. So that's why we're creating the GAN network. Basically, is eventually to have a lot of nodes that are not only Grape run. It can be run by anyone, but it gives you the same experience. Like that's what we want to do with Grape.
Got it. Are there any other comments before we start closing this up? Any questions?
I could go on about product strategy, but I think I'm gonna quit it for now.
Yeah. Maybe on
If someone
Tuesday we
has
can.
questions regarding GAN or Grape Access, please ask them. I'm writing along so that everything Billy you said also will be in our documentation. So should be a first step. But
Look,
educational material.
the documentation is not, I think, the issue. I think that the education on
Yeah,
how to set up a
definitely.
Discord, is a bigger problem because all these communities, like even look at the Bored Ape Yacht Club that just got hacked yesterday. These are like recurring similar security issues that every community goes through. They need to have like a checklist of security, best practices, and why do one thing one way versus another. Like education is very important, and having everybody in the ecosystem be aware of these issues.
Yeah, definitely. But I think a good first step is that every Grape member or core Grape member should also know these things in order to educate other people of why we're doing things like we're doing them. So yeah, but obviously
Let me give you an example. Like the Degenerate Ape Academy, when they migrated to the Degen DAO, nobody had to click on any emoji. The moment you joined the DAO, you automatically would get the role, and it would just work. We would give the role from one community to the other. Like that was a really good experience. But we got rid of the emoji, so it was not as secure, but it gave a better migration experience to, like, people didn't want to re-verify, so we let them just go to the new server. But we didn't do this for all communities because we believe that that step is important. Like even at Grape, imagine if we removed that step and somebody could just join the community without that, proof of humanity. You are basically introducing like all these bots to your server, which you can keep them away.
Okay. So that's a good stopping point for Sunday's DAO call. A lot of good information concerning the GAN. Looking forward to the documentation. Awesome to hear about the Grape Athens DAO. Thanks again for that. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good day or good evening.
Cheers, guys. Thanks again for having me. Really good time.
Yeah,
Bye.
I enjoyed that. Have a good one, guys.
Goodbye, all.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye.